Welcome back to the third installment of our BT by Brooklyn Tweed first Raglan sweater walkthrough videos. I'm Mary, and today we're going to go through how to pick back up the stitches for the sleeves on your sweater and work them down to the cuff. As you can see, we've got the body all knit on this sweater sample, and today we'll be walking through returning these sleeve stitches you held during the division round and picking up stitches from the underarms to work the sleeve. So you're going to start by placing the stitches that you held back on the needles. Depending on the size you're working, you might need a different type of needle. For the first and second size, the circumference of the sleeve is small enough that it won't fit on a 16-inch circular needle. So you can use either double pointed needles or magic loop. I'm going to be using magic loop because that's what I prefer. You can also use 2 circular needles for your magic loop. The rest of the sizes will fit on a 16-inch circular needle, which is great because then you can just go around. So you'll take, what I like to do is put the stitches back on the needle while they're still on the waste yarn so that you don't have to worry about them falling off. So you'll just take the needle and thread it back through all of these stitches. If you're doing double pointed needles, it can help to know, you want to count how many stitches you've got ahead of time so that you can break them and distribute them over either 3 or 4 needles. I'm going to have to divide my stitches in half at the end of this. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a fiddly deal to get the edgemost stitches on because they've been pulled by the neighboring stitches. But now we've got them all back on the needle, and so we can take the waste yarn out. So we'll just untie that knot, or you can just cut it if you don't feel like untying it, and then pull it all the way out. So you've got your stitches back on the needle. For a magic loop, I'm using a 32-inch circular in the same size as for the main fabric. You'll end up having to redistribute them probably more exactly once you've picked up stitches, so I'm just doing where I feel is right for half of it. And then you'll take your working yarn again and knit across those previously held, now live again stitches. So now we've knit across all of the sleeve stitches that were previously held. We're going to pick up stitches from where we cast them on at the underarm during the division round. So the main thing that we need is to get 1 stitch from each of these cast on stitches. What I like to do as well when picking up stitches from an area like this is to do an extra stitch on each side that will immediately be decreased so that you end up with the right stitch count still, but there's no gaps. So I'm going to do one in between these live stitches and the cast on stitch, the first one. So there's our extra stitch, and then we'll do one in the very first cast on stitch and then pass that extra stitch over the first one. Okay, so you've got your first stitch picked up from the cast on, then you'll pick up continuing until the number of stitches that it specifies in the pattern for this first part for your size. So for the second size, it's 3 stitches for the first part. Here I've got 3. And then I'm going to place a marker for the beginning of the round. And then after the beginning of the round, we're going to pick up the second number of stitches. So for the second size, that's 4. All right, so now I've got 4 stitches, 1 from each cast on stitch. And then we're going to do our extra stitch at this side. And then to decrease that stitch, I'm going to knit the first live sleeve stitch, if I can untangle my yarn, and then pass that extra stitch over. So here we've got all of our stitches, sleeve stitches plus picked up stitches, and you're going to knit around to the new beginning of the round. All right, so now we've got our real sleeve stitches in the round. This is also, if you're on double pointed needles or magic loop, the time where you can redistribute your stitches if you feel like there's too many on one side or one needle. This is also the point where you can decide whether you're going to do your tapered sleeve or the blouse sleeve that is in the base pattern. If you want to do the blouse sleeve, that's a 3/4, but it goes kind of into a bow at the bottom. You'll follow the directions in the main pattern. If you want to do something that tapers more toward the forearm, then you'll follow the instructions that are in the companion. If you're doing the tapered sleeve, something that can be really helpful is to use locking markers like this each time that you do a decrease, which will help you count how many you've done. I find that so much more helpful just to visually know instead of having to go through and find each of the decreases you've done. So you can also try on as you go to check the fit and length. Now that the body is done, and you don't have as much risk of the stitches coming off the needle, you don't necessarily need to put your stitches on waist yarn to do this, though it can be helpful just to avoid any, unforeseen disasters. But here, like the circumference is big enough that I would not put my stitches on waist yarn to try it on, just because you can just kind of stick your arm through. But this way you can check the length before you move on to the ribbing to make sure it's the length you want. Then once it reaches about 3 1/4 inches before the total length that you want, you'll move on to the ribbed cuff. And then you'll want to use the same bind off at the end of the ribbing as you did for the body usually, or you can try out something new, just as long as it's flexible and it does the same kind of pattern in the 1x1 ribbing. And then once you've bound it off, your sweater's done. Follow along next time as we go through how to block your finished sweater. Happy knitting!